So today I kind of tested Hydra's comfort level with some awkward introductions, and I sacrificed Kinza as our weird individual. She basically did all the wrong things you are supposed to do when you're approaching a strange dog. She kind of hunkered down, hard stare with wide eyes, and then she stomped real fast towards him. And his response was 100% avoidance. The barking that he did do was basically what we call a distance increasing bark. So it was a very harsh, low, you heard it, get away from me kind of bark. And then as he did that, he backed into me and then pivoted around me and did everything he could to try and gain height and distance from Kinza as she walked towards him. What I wanted to see was if and how long it took for him to recover from that initial response to Kinza. So after he reacted vocally and built distance and tried to avoid her, I asked her to turn her back, pretend he was completely invisible, and remain completely still. And then I had him walk with me around her to just see if he was going to be comfortable. Yep, good boy. Checking her out, sniffing at her at all. And it took about, I'm going to say 20 seconds for him to even look in her direction again and acknowledge that she was still standing there in this space. He physically tried to keep me in between him and her as much as possible. And when he did have to look in that direction, she was completely invisible. His line of sight would literally move up and over and around her. Yep, good boy, you figuring this out. Yeah, you are. Even when I had her kind of soften down into a crouch and I handed her our little stick with some peanut butter cheese, he was willing to lean in far enough to lick at the cheese, but if she made any kind of move or locked eyes with him, he would back off and kind of skitter and react fearfully. So I stepped out of the lobby space at that point and asked him to just walk around outside. And that's what it took. Leaving the actual environment where he had experienced the stressful scenario was what it took to see him finally shake off the stress, bring his tail back up, and start sniffing and expressing curiosity about the space. And that is what we want to see when we ask the dog to recover from fearful experiences. Yep, good boy. We want to see them lose that tense gait that they're practicing, and we want to see their tail shift up into a more neutral position. Their ears, we want to see them come forward, and we want them to start sniffing. Sniffing means an increase in respiration rate, which also decreases their heart rate, and it helps them gather information about the world around them, which expresses curiosity instead of the concern they were feeling previously. Yep. Another thing that I noted, yeah, that was good, when Hydro got stressed, is that he actually started performing behaviors, like learned behaviors, like a sit or a down. So there's a school of thought in training that the epitome of a good dog is performance through stress, like performance even in the face of stress. And when we focus so much on performance, sometimes we skip over the part where your dog gets a chance to de-stress, de-escalate, and self-regulate before then looking to you for direction. So we skip over the self-regulation portion and jump right into you will do the work and you will be rewarded for the work no matter how you're feeling about what's going on around you. And I don't think that we're allowing Hydro time to practice self-soothing and self-regulating before we're asking him to perform in certain scenarios. Which means that he's gonna perform for you and he's gonna maybe take the reinforcement, or he might even refuse the reinforcement, the food or the pets that you have, because he's working while stressed. He's working under duress. And that can actually help teach him to mask all of these stress indicators until it gets to the point where he feels his only choice is to practice that distance increasing bark and start trying to avoid. Okay? Not saying that performance is bad. I'm saying that you need to adjust your criteria for success for your dog based on what he's communicating with you about his surroundings. And you need to help him practice other behaviors, whether they are cued or not, so that he can then look to you for that learned behavior that you can cue, like a sit or a down stay, or even an appropriate greeting behavior where he goes and says hello to someone after acclimating to having them in the space, okay? There are a couple of exercises we introduced today. One is mat work, good man. So this is the mat we are working with today. It's just this little quilt, this youth quilt. And all I've done is build a reinforcement history on this space. Anytime he looks at me, I would mark with yep, and I would deliver a reinforcement that I knew he wanted onto this mat. And now we've gotten to the point where he knows if he puts his feet on this mat and just stares at me adoringly, he's gonna get a snack, okay? And I can ask him to sit. Sir, sit. Yep, good boy. And he will work